And what stopped me from being active in that today? What stopped me? And 9 times out of 10, the thing that stopped you from acting on that feeling and from creating something to change it is the distraction. Now, it all boils down to perception and distortion, or truth and opinion. Perception, if we define perception as the true perception of the singular truth of reality. There is only one truth in the world. There is only one absolute truth of reality. So let's call perception the perception of that truth. And the media distorts it. The matrix distorts that for everybody. Now, if we stay aligned to the field, we can stay aligned to that perception, and we can build upon those passionate feelings for change. But if the media tells us and riles our emotions to be activists on politics or to be activists on gun law at certain times based on news stories or events or political stories, then it's in us to want the change. But then when that finishes, if you don't move up to that thoughtless, peaceful, original space of human creation that I keep referring to as the field, you will stay observing the media. And when you do that, you'll be overloaded with information. And when you do that, your perception of reality will be distorted. And the truth that you got a glimmer of when you were passionately saying, I want this for my country, I think this is what's best, I think this is what's best, will just fade and fritter away.
We can make it better. Feel the love inside. Forget foolish pride. Oh yeah, I know that we can find.
Hey guys, I thought I'd make one last video while I've got a little bit of energy, and it's only going to be a little one. I just want to talk about, while I'm in the West and I have a bit more time to do things I wouldn't do in Tanzania, such as time wasting maybe, looking at my Facebook, reading the news, and all of those sort of things that we do when we have a little bit too much time on our hands. I've noticed that far too many people are still completely reactant upon the matrix. And many of those people are persons who call themselves awakened. And this is a very dangerous thing, because we can call ourselves awakened, but we have these anchors that attach us to the daily, pre-programmed, pre-created, purposefully created matrix around us. Now, we've all seen the matrix. You all get what I mean when I say the matrix. This false digital light reality that we are fed by a minority of people on the planet. Now, I pointed out before last year, and I was absolutely correct, that all over the place were these matrix political activists in the UK, at least, probably in your own country as well, that whenever the TV and the media said, time for elections, time to be involved in politics, they all had a huge opinion to share, they all had so much information to share, and they all were so passionate about the topic being fed to them via their anchor to the matrix. So the matrix was telling them it's time for elections, it's time for you to make a difference, it's time for you to vote for someone, and they were all getting behind their individual person and party with a lot of passion. And back then I said to all of those people, and I said often in videos, when the media stops telling you to do this, what will you do to participate in change and democracy? And none have done anything. None of the ones in my Facebook friends lists have done anything to continue their passionate rants for change and their political activism. They have merely settled back into their lives, and maybe no one's fault that you must. We have children to provide for, we have homes to pay for, food to pay for. But they just settle back in and they don't do anything to change the planet. The passion goes and they wait for the next Matrix-induced event for them to get passionate about with the crowd. And I saw it the other day, these horrible events in America with the high school shooting again. Everybody is up for a few days ranting about gun laws and so on and so forth, because the Matrix told you about a gun crime. Now, the crime was terrible, and it's wrong, and it should be discussed, and it should be tackled. But are those people sharing so passionately and actively their opinions at the time when the Matrix tells them to, doing anything about it outside of the times that the Matrix tells them to? And over 90% of the time, if not more, the answer is no, they are not. Because they have too many anchors into the Matrix. And that's why you should choose the thing that you are passionate for change for in life. And you should live from a place that I call the field. You should sever and cut all of your anchors, as many as humanly possible, from that digital matrix. And you should live from an original space of consciousness where all humans should live. That place called the field. Now, most people can achieve moving their consciousness to the field, but our anchors will pull us back. Some anchors always pull us back, such as paying the bills, the food. This is the way the system, the non-digital matrix, the physical matrix was designed. We have to come back from the field to do that. But those who can stay in the field long enough can create ways and means for those anchors to not pull them back. When you do that, when you manage to stay in the field long enough, you can actually build something original. You can build change without the anchors yanking you back into the digital or physical matrix that has been pre-created and you were born into. Now, those opportunities are not plentiful, I'll admit that. But what we have to be careful of is that we fight for what we passionately know to be wrong all of the time. We fight for the changes we want all of the time. And the problem we have is when you're too plugged into the media, into the matrix, into the digital matrix, you get riled up because when you are given something to be passionate about from that reality, which is not the true original reality, you respond to it, which shows that the want is there. But because you're so plugged into that reality, when it stops talking about it, you go back to the mindlessness of that reality, the entertainment, the time passing, the alcohol, the drugs, the junk food, the overeating, the having fun. And all those things are okay in moderation. You can do them, that's fine. But you need to spend time in that field so as you can change things. And if you are not sure whether you're one of those people plugged into the matrix, ask yourself, when the matrix was telling me it was election time, was I posting and arguing and bickering about the elections and change and what's best for my country? And what stopped me from being active in that today? What stopped me? And 9 times out of 10, the thing that stopped you from acting on that feeling and from creating something to change it is the distraction. Now, it all boils down to perception and distortion, or truth and opinion. Perception, if we define perception as the true perception of the singular truth of reality. There is only one truth in the world. There is only one absolute truth of reality. So let's call perception the perception of that truth. And the media distorts it. The matrix distorts that for everybody. Now, if we stay aligned to the field, we can stay aligned to that perception, and we can build upon those passionate feelings for change. But if the media tells us and riles our emotions to be activists on politics or to be activists on gun law at certain times based on news stories or events or political stories, then it's in us to want the change. But then when that finishes, if you don't move up to that thoughtless, peaceful, original space of human creation that I keep referring to as the field, you will stay observing the media. And when you do that, you'll be overloaded with information. And when you do that, your perception of reality will be distorted. And the truth that you got a glimmer of when you were passionately saying, I want this for my country, I think this is what's best, will just fade and fritter away. Because you'll have wasted hours on entertainment or on whatever it is that you've wasted your time on. Now, truth be told, if people participate, for instance, in democracy at the time they are told to vote, they are participating in an illusion and they have not awoken to the matrix. They are asleep within that. Because instead of unplugging, they actually believe this is my time for action. I have an ability to change because this digital matrix I spend far too much time in has told me this is my time to have a go at that. And that should be about 5% of democracy for a person. Because if your vote fails, you should then fight and lobby and learn and join groups and petition and work out how to bring in new bills or how to change laws. But people don't. They go back to the distortion. And if you want to experience true perception, if you want to experience truth without opinion, you need to sit inside the field. And opinion sharing, it's a pointless folly. Really, it is a pointless folly. We have billions of opinions, and they are all distortions of truth, when all we're seeking is the true perception of truth. But we only find that when we take the time to unplug from the comfort of the matrix. And just because you unplug from your TV and then plug into the next matrix, which is supposedly the free media of YouTube, where you're listening to me now, doesn't mean you unplugged at all. It means you unplugged from one safety zone to another. Real unplugging takes a little bit of time. And when you've been in the field long enough, you can come back into that matrix and you can start affecting change within there. It took me years of wandering alone in nature and spending time in the forests, etc., just like a shaman would, to gain realization of this and the process of it. That's how I did it. Perhaps it won't for you. But if you're reacting to every news story, and then as soon as it's gone, you're waiting for the next one like a panting dog to react to it again, you're plugged into the matrix. Get out. Get into the field. Because in the field is where you were born to be. And in the field is where you'll be the best version of yourself. I guess in short, you could study Buddhism and say, stay sat in the center of the Dharma wheel and watch those news stories go around. If you really want to act, if you really want to do something, choose one and build upon it and dedicate to it. Repetition is the foundation of every mastery on the planet. That would include political activism. That would include activism against gun law. But if you're only going to get in uproar when the media tells you to, you're far too attached to the media. And despite how horrible the events are, and it is important for us to share our views on things, I just want to point that out, that I still see it. And especially there's a group, as I say, that I warned during the last political elections in England at least, said when these elections are over, you won't mention politics. You'll wait for the matrix, the media, to tell you it's your time again. And I told them this makes me sad. And it's exactly what's going on. And I just don't like it. because they're good people. They just can't quite spend long enough in the field to realise that they are in the pre-created field, the Matrix. God bless, guys. Love you all. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, as it really helps us to grow the channel and with it help more children here in Tanzania. Also, don't forget you can support our work by sharing with children in crisis here, be it sharing for a particular need or even sharing one-on-one support for education, housing, food and medical care. It can be done for as little as the cost of a cup of coffee a week back in the West after all. Just visit www.sharetanzania.co.uk to find out more. Lastly, remember you can also support us via Patreon, www.patreon.com/featherstail, and help keep us here in Tanzania to continue our work. The links for the website and for the Patreon are in the description box of this video. Love and light, guys. See you soon.